Hey, a very good morning, everyone. I hope all of you are staying safe and well. Okay. I'm very happy to be able to conduct this series of webinars together with the University of Science Malaysia Library. Okay. Big thank you to the library to help to arrange this session as well. Okay. We have a series of 3 webinars, and the reason for this webinar is because you currently have trial access to Web of Science. Okay? So the trial will end on the 26th of May 2020. So as of today, you have access to the following databases on trial, which is the Web of Science, okay, and it includes Medline and Biosys Citation Index, as well as a second database, which is Insights. Okay? Just a quick overview of these 2 databases. Web of Science is the platform where you go and look for literature for your own research. Okay, so it is a citation index, and you will be able to see articles, titles, their abstracts, as well as the journals index within Web of Science. Insights, on the other hand, is an analytical tool that you can use to identify things like your collaborators, identify potential institutions to collaborate with, or individual authors, looking at also get insight information on the publishing patterns of key research institutes around the world. Okay, so Insights is an analytical tool that uses the data from Web of Science. Okay, then at the same time, the USM library already has a subscription to another one of our Web of Science databases, which is called Journal Citation Reports. And this is the home of the journal impact factor. So if you want information about any journals indexed within the Web of Science Citation Index, as well as the Social Science Citation Index, you will go and look at Journal Citation Reports. Okay? So all journals indexed in Journal Citation Reports has an impact factor. Okay? And this is the platform that is already subscribed to you for you by the library. Just a final reminder, do remember to mute your lines so that we do not have any background noises recorded. Thank you. Okay. And finally, in order to access the trial as well as the journal citation reports from off-campus, what you need to do is go to the your university's library homepage. There should be a link to sign in to OpenAthens. Okay? Sign in from there, and you will be able to access these databases. During the walkthrough later on, I will also show you how to access them. Okay? So the first webinar for today is focused around the Web of Science platform. And what I'm going to show you in the next half hour or so will be how to use the platform to identify good papers for your own literature review, as well as find emerging topics in your area of research. Okay? And because during this trial period, you have access to also Medline and Biosys, I will be also showing you some tips on how to get key information around, for example, coronavirus, or information around the COVID-19, for example. Okay? So hang tight. I will do some presentation slides, and then we will do a live walkthrough. Okay? And if you have any questions, do remember to put them into the chat box. A bit of an overview of who we are, okay, for those who have never attended any of our sessions before. Okay, the Web of Science group started off actually more than 60 years ago, and many of your senior researchers or faculty members would remember us as probably ISI. Okay, so what does ISI stand for? It stands for the Institute of Scientific Information. Okay, you need to remember this abbreviation, very important, because there are a lot of predatory journals or platforms out there that make use of our long-standing heritage as ISI to prey on unknowing new researchers. Okay, so do remember our abbreviation is Institute of Scientific Information, ISI. Okay, so in the past, Web of Science platform used to be called ISI, and then it moved on to, we changed company. We moved to Thomson Scientific, Thomson Reuters, and as of today, our parent company is called Clarivate Analytics. Okay, so Clarivate Analytics is the parent of Web of Science Group, and the Web of Science Group is where the Web of Science platform sits. Okay, and this is where you will find the related information about your research as well as articles. Okay. Now on the screen here, I have 4 words that I want to highlight to all of you. Okay, I had a look at all those who registered. I think most of you are postgraduate students, okay, and early career researchers. So for you as a researcher, okay, what does these 4 words mean to you? Okay, I will go through this one at a time. So the first word, which is time. As a researcher, what does time mean to you? Because you have multiple roles, not just as a researcher, okay, maybe you are teaching, maybe you are a student, okay, so your time has to be split into your multiple roles. So when it comes to research, time is of the essence for you, and what you retrieve in terms of literature has to be quick. Okay? The second word, which is accuracy. So quick retrieval is one thing, but you need to be sure that what you retrieve is of accurate nature. Same thing goes for when you conduct your research. For example, if you take any measurements, you have to make sure that the tool that you use to take those measurements has to be the same brand, same type, and of consistent nature, okay, so that you have the most accurate data. Okay. Third word, which is novelty. When you do any research, would you want to do a research that 101 researchers have done before, yielding the same result? Or would you want something that is novel, of unique value to your area of research? Okay. Most of you will answer, yes, I want something unique. Why do you want unique content or research? It leads me to the final 4th word, which is impact. What you want is impact for your research, because number one, okay, if all of you are students, the impact that you want is ideally graduation. Okay, you want to get your degrees or your doctorates. Okay, so that's one impact. The second one, if you are a faculty member, is possibly part of your KPI. So as long as you get a citation, if you get a citation to your research paper, okay, that reflects very well onto your KPI. And then, of course, the overarching reason for doing research is societal impact, environmental impact. So any impact that will affect humanity at large. Okay? So these 4 words are very important to you as researchers. Okay? But it is also the basis of how the Web of Science content has been created. Okay? We take into consideration these 4 keywords, these 4 words in building the content. Okay? So in terms of starting off your research on the right foot, most of the time you would start reading some journals, you would read articles, and get ideas for your own research paper. You would most probably start with one or eureka paper. I like to call this the eureka paper because it is a eureka moment for you as a researcher if you read this article and go like, hey, I think this could lead to something. Okay? So once you have this eureka paper in front of you, okay, how would you then go about building on your research topic? Okay? You would want to find something related to this area of research. So from this original eureka paper, how would you find those related papers? Okay? Most of the time, you would look at the references only. So if you only had access to this PDF, okay, the only place you look for related papers would be the reference list. However, the reference list will only give you the older papers, but never the newer ones. So from here, you might hit a roadblock. The next thing you might then explore to do is start a new keyword search on a platform, on a search platform. Okay? So most of you would turn to maybe Google Scholar and you type in a keyword to search for your research topic. Okay? So keyword searching is good, but there are some challenges. So on the screen here, I have 3 keywords: water spinach, kangkong, and bakpong. Okay, so these three keywords, have a think in the back of your mind what these three keywords are. Are they referring to a vegetable, an insect? Okay, okay, most of you would know that this is a vegetable, but are they the same vegetable? Yes, they are. Okay, so these three keywords are the same, referring to the same vegetable, the same species of vegetable. Just that water spinach is in English, kangkong is in Malay, bakpong is in Thai. So what does this do for you? Okay, what are the challenges? So imagine that there is a kangkong paper written in Malay language, let's say from Indonesia or even Malaysia. Okay, if you type in water spinach, you might miss out on these Malaysian kangkong papers. Same thing goes for bakpong. So you might miss out on other papers because they are using different terms. So keyword searching is good as a start, but there are challenges that you have to bear in mind. Okay. So that's why our founder, Dr. Eugene Garfield, okay, no relation to the cat, yeah? So Dr. Eugene Garfield, he is the founder or the brainchild for citation indexes. And that is what the Web of Science is. So for Web of Science, we index papers from cover to cover, okay? Meaning you will see the articles titles, the abstracts, the authors, the funding agency, the references. All the references will be indicated and indexed. What does this do for you? It means that you will be able to see the relationships between multiple papers based on the references. So we are able to see the cited references between each paper. So this is what we call a citation index. Okay? So bear in mind, Web of Science is a citation index. It is not a full text database. So the way you use Web of Science will be very different from how you use a full text database. Okay? But there are links for you to download full text if they are subscribed by the institution. Right? So as of now, I will just pause and address some questions. Okay. Some of you have been asking about accessing OpenAthens. Okay, I will show that to you in my live demo later on. Okay, the library would have subscription to JCR. Okay, and I will show that to you later on if we have some time. Okay, but yes, the subscription is available via the library, but I'll show you how to access it later. Okay, slides will be provided to you. I will provide the slides to the library actually, okay, and they will share that with you in PDF format if you require. Okay, but only the recordings will be emailed to all of you. Okay. Yep, that's about it. Right, so let's continue. So to give you a visualization of how the relationship between papers work within the Web of Science, I'm going to show you an example. So take, for example, the paper in the middle of the screen is your Eureka paper. So this is the paper that sparked an idea for you, and you start exploring related content. So in the Web of Science, you will look at the references, okay, that will give you older papers on the left, but at the same time, because you are able to see whether there are any newer papers that have cited your Eureka paper, okay, you are able to see the cited paper, the citing papers as well. So these would be your newer content on the right. Okay, so these are the two possible ways of identifying related papers. On the left, older papers. On the right, newer papers. Now, because Web of Science indexes everything about the paper, we are able to compare multiple papers' references. Okay? They might not have cited each other, okay? But out of, let's say, 10 references that they have, maybe the two papers share 3 or 4 similar references. Okay? So they do not have any citing relationships, but because their references are similar, we have a third option for you to find related content, which is to click into the related records. So these related records are records that share similar references, but they might not have cited each other. Okay? So there are 3 ways for you to find related papers now in Web of Science. Okay? This is an example of how one record looks like in Web of Science. So you have the title, the author's names, the journal information, abstract, and keywords. Okay? One thing I wanted to highlight to you about keywords is there are 2 different options for keywords. Okay? There is something called author's keywords, okay, which is provided by the authors themselves, and there is this other feature called Keywords Plus. Now, Keywords Plus is unique to Web of Science. Okay? We know that there a lot of researchers like to use keywords to search. So sometimes when you find a Eureka paper, the paper that has sparked your interest, have a look at the Keywords Plus, because adding on some of these keywords here into your search string can help to refine your search further to specific topics. Okay? So these are unique to Web of Science, and this is called Keywords Plus. Okay? To find newer papers on the Web of Science record, you would click on this number 1, for example. Click on the number of times cited. That will lead you to the newer papers on Web of Science. Okay? If you click on the number 45 here, okay, this will take you to the 45 references used by your Eureka paper. Okay? And finally, the related records will be just under the references. Okay? So these are the 3 connections where you can click through to explore your literature from your Eureka paper. Now, on the screen here, I have 3 pictures. You have sand, stars, and journals. Okay, can all of you tell me what these 3 have in common? Just keep that answer in the back of your head, because I know you can't answer me now. Okay, so just think about this. For me, I can't count any of this. Okay, I can't count sand, I can't count stars, and I definitely can't count journals. Okay, all of these exist in overwhelming numbers. So some people would tell me that they can count journals, but probably that's a full-time job, 24/7. Okay? So take into consideration a journal that you read regularly. How many issues do they have in a year? Okay, maybe 4 issues a year. Within one issue, you have maybe 10 articles. So if you have to read just one journal, that is already probably a few hundred articles to look at. So what happens if you have multiple journals in your subject area? Okay, you're talking about trillions of articles. Okay, now think about how many articles can you actually read in 1 week. Okay, so to keep this quick, okay, I will just assume one article per week for you to fully read and understand it and apply. Okay, so 1 year you have 52 weeks, which means to say in 1 year you can only read 52 papers. So how would you filter from these trillions of papers out there to these 52 papers that you need to read in 1 year? Think about that. Okay. So we did a quick survey of 11,000 or so journals in the Web of Science, and we found that 80% of all citations came from just a small portion of journals, which means to say, as a researcher, for you to read good papers, you don't necessarily need numbers. You don't need a big number of journals. You actually need to pinpoint the most impactful ones to read. Okay? So that's why it's so important to do an initial filtration. So what Web of Science does is we have actually helped you to filter this down 1 level, meaning we do not index every single journal that is out there. Okay? All journals that want to be indexed in the Web of Science has to go through an evaluation process. Okay? And this evaluation process requires 24 impact criteria, 24 quality criteria and 4 impact criteria. Okay? If they do not fulfill any of these, they will not be able to be indexed in Web of Science core collection. Okay? So on this screen here, you will see this wheel that covers multiple indexes within Web of Science platform. Okay? And in the core, this is where the Web of Science core collection sits. Okay? And this collection is evaluated internally through an editorial team. Okay? And all other indexes around it here, these are external indexes, okay? And they may not be evaluated by Web of Science, okay? But just hosted on the platform. So as of today, for USM Library, you have access to the trial of this Web of Science core collection, which covers the Emerging Sources Citation Index, Science, Social Science, Arts and Humanities Citation Indexes, Conferences, and Books Citation Index. You will also have access to Biosys Citation Index and Biosys Previews, as well as Medline. So these three you can access all in one platform for Web of Science. Okay. I'm going to address some questions and have a look. By the way, I have a colleague with me, who is Clarice Liu. She's been answering some of your questions on the chat group, okay, while I've been presenting. Okay. So let me see if there's any questions that hasn't been addressed. Okay. So I'll explain a little bit more about what the different citation indexes are, okay, in my next few slides. Okay. So I'll zoom into the Web of Science core collection for now, okay, because I think there are some questions around what each of these indexes represent. Okay. So the Web of Science core collection covers around 21,000 journals, okay, and this spans across science, social science, arts and humanities, and emerging sources, as well as conference and books. Okay. The Science Citation Index would cover journals that have impact factor. Social Science Citation Index will have journals that have impact factor. Okay. Arts and Humanities Citation Index will not have impact factor. Emerging Sources Citation Index will also not have impact factor. Similarly, conference and books. Okay. To help you remember this fairly easily, okay, I'm going to explain a bit about the evaluation process. So if a journal wants to be indexed in the Web of Science core collection, it has to go through an evaluation process, and if it fulfills 24 quality criteria, okay, so if it fulfills 24 quality criteria, it will go into Emerging Sources Citation Index. Okay, so Emerging Sources Citation Index covers journals in all disciplines. Okay, all disciplines. But journals in this citation index does not have an impact factor yet. All right. So they have fulfilled the quality criteria. So they are quality journals, just that they have not been evaluated on impact. Once they have been evaluated on impact and they fulfill the 4 impact criteria that we set out, they will be promoted to the flagship 3, which is the science, social science, arts and humanities. Okay, and only the science and social science journals will have impact factor. All right, so this is similar to an Olympic Games. For example, you have only the qualifiers for the different sports groups that can participate in the Olympic Games. So the qualifiers are already very good athletes. So ESCI, Emerging Sources Citation Index, is equivalent to these qualifiers. So they haven't run the race yet, but they are good athletes. Once they start running the race, okay, and if they get maybe the bronze, silver, or gold medals, they will then stand on the podium here, and those that are elite will get your impact factor. Okay, so this is how you can remember the different citation indexes fairly quickly. Okay. Any questions from the group? Okay. There's one question around, is it true lecturer must have at least one article published in Web of Science journal before get research ID in Web of Science? Yes. So you must have at least one article that is indexed in Web of Science before you can claim for your researcher ID. Okay. So I will explain about researcher ID probably in the third session on Thursday, okay, where I will cover Publons. Okay. Now, the other thing that is very important that I wanted to highlight about Web of Science content is that you have access to a good number of open access articles on Web of Science. Okay, what is open access to you as a researcher? As a researcher, open access means free to view. Okay, free for you to view. So these are free articles that you can read without a subscription. And this was brought together because we worked with Impact Story. We gave them a grant to look at all journals and indicate down to the article level which articles are free for viewing. Okay, and later on, I will show you how to filter down to these open access content. Okay, so there is around at least about 20% of open access content within Web of Science at the moment. Okay. So now I will be sharing my screen with you so that I can go through a demo. Okay. Okay, so before we do that, let me address some questions. Okay, so why did Arts Humanities Citation Index does not include in JCR? Okay, that's a very good question, which I will also address later in my second session. Okay, but to answer this, what we have taken into consideration is that most arts and humanities content or articles tend to receive very, very few citations. So even if, because of the way impact factors are calculated, if we do give an impact factor to arts and humanities journals, the impact factor will be very low. So collectively, editorially, there is a decision that arts and humanities journals will not have impact factor. Okay, but if you are in arts and humanities and you want to publish in an impact factor journal, my recommendation is look at the social science journals, because there are many social science journals that have multiple disciplines that would overlap with arts and humanities. Okay, but I'll address that in more detail in the second session. Okay, so to access Web of Science, what you need to do is from your university's library homepage, there is this off-campus link here. Okay, off-campus login via OpenAthens. So if you click through, you should be prompted to log in with your OpenAthens account. If you do not have an OpenAthens account, I believe you can request that from your library. Okay, and once you've logged in, you should be presented with a list of databases, and you can choose Web of Science from the database. Or you can type in the exact URL, okay, webofscience.com, and you should be prompted for this page. So when you access this via OpenAthens off campus, there is one additional step you need to take, which is under here, institutional sign-in. You need to choose OpenAthens Federation. Okay, choose OpenAthens Federation and click Go, and you should be able to go into the platform. Okay, so just a repeat from your library's homepage, click Off Campus Login, sign in with OpenAthens, look for the link Web of Science, or type in webofscience.com, select OpenAthens Federation under Institutional Sign-In, and click Go. Okay, that should then take you straight into the platform. Okay, so I will just go into my account. Now, what I'm showing here today is my account. So my account will look slightly different from what you would see for USM's trial, okay? Because you have Web of Science core collection, as well as Biosys, as well as Medline. Okay? So this is how the Web of Science platform will look like when you sign in. Okay? You can do a basic search like what you're used to, okay, using a keyword first. So for your area of research, for example, if you're keen to look at, we shall look at coronavirus, okay? And I will limit this to a specific year. So I'm going to look at the past maybe 10 years or so, okay? So 2010 to 2020. So you can actually adjust the time span accordingly. Now the field for you to search, you can choose from any of these. Okay, if you want a quick explanation of what each field means, you just hover over each of this field. Okay, but for today, I will just quickly show you the topic search. So just search for coronavirus and search. Now this search is limited to just the core collection for now, which is your emerging sources, citation index, science, social science, arts and humanities. Okay, as well as conference and books. Now, once you have the search results, okay, so for the past 10 years, you have 7,826 papers from about coronavirus, okay, and because now you would have access to insights, okay, because of this access, you should be able to see this logo, which is the trophy logo, which we call highly cited papers. Now, these are highly cited papers in their field, meaning they are, in terms of citations, in the top 1% of their field in terms of citation. Okay? So these would be your very important papers to read if you want to do research in coronavirus. So you can select and refine to these 71, or you can just continue browsing. Okay? So these are your classic papers that you need to read. Okay? And if these are the papers that you want to filter down to, just click select and refine. Okay? And the 71 papers will appear in your results list. Pardon the speed of Web of Science. Okay, I believe there is some work going on in the background, so that's why there's a bit of a lag. Okay, but as what I mentioned, these are the 71 highly cited papers in the topic of coronavirus. Okay, so if you want to keep this into your reading list for your own literature review, just select the tick boxes here and add to marked list right here. Okay. Once you click add to marked list, the 3 articles here will reflect on the top right where there's a 3 here next to marked list. Okay. The other feature that you can use is usage count last 180 days. So this particular way to sort your results would highlight the most used articles in the past 6 months. Okay. Now, when you highlight this, it would show you the trending papers, okay? Meaning it will give you some insight into what is of interest to the community in the past 6 months, because they are referring to it very often. Okay. There will be another logo, which is the flame logo. Okay, I will try and search a different term for you so that you can see the flame logo. the topic that I will search is marine pollution. Okay. So for this topic itself, you have 268 highly cited papers, and there's this new thing, this flame logo, hot papers. Hot papers are your emerging topics. Okay, so if you filter to these flame logos, these are your emerging topics in your area of research. Okay, so I've already showed you two ways to quickly use keyword search to find these papers. If we go straight into one article, let's look at this particular one, which is highly cited, microplastics in marine environment. Okay. From here, you would see the article title, the abstract, the author's keywords, keywords plus, okay? And these are additional keywords you can use to refine your search further so that it's specific to this topic. Okay? If you want to find newer papers related to this, you can click time cited 1353, and that will link you to the 1,353 papers around this topic, which is newer. This 139 will take you to the 139 references used in this paper. Okay? I want to take your attention to this 139 papers first. So this 139. What is unique here is that if you were to have this on a PDF or printed article, you will only see the reference list as a stagnant list of articles. Okay? But on Web of Science, we are able to see the number of times cited of each of these references as well. So from here, this also gives you an idea of which are important papers for you in your literature review. Okay? So this is my quick overview here. Now, the next thing I want to show you is how to access your biases as well as Medline content. So if you go back to the homepage of Web of Science, okay, under select a database, you will have multiple options of databases here. So you would now have seen Web of Science core collection, but you also have access to Biosys Citation Index, Biosys Previews, as well as Medline. Okay, so if you do an all database search, this would cover content from Web of Science, Biosys, as well as Medline. So it will give you more results for your topic. Okay, especially for those who are in biomedical field or clinical medicine. So if you select all databases, okay, you can, so what I'm doing here is because I have a lot of databases here, I'm just limiting it to what you have access to, okay, and as well as Medline. And I'll do a coronavirus search. And I'm not limiting my years, or I'm limiting it to 1975 to 2020 for now. Okay, and we do a search just to see how much content is there. Okay. Okay. So we have 26,000 records altogether from 1975 to date. Okay. And if you browse through on the left here, under databases, you can see that in the Web of Science, you have 20,000. Okay. But because you're searching across all these databases, you have an additional of 6,000 content to look at. Okay. The other thing that is unique because you have access to these two platforms now, these few databases now, is that you will be able to see a combined information from Biosys as well as Medline. So if you're looking at one article here, for example, okay, this would be your Web of Science information, okay, the citation network, citation references as well. Okay. On the right here, you can click through to the biological data from BioSys without having to do a separate search on BioSys anymore. Okay. So you can just click through and you would be able to see this information. So things like the taxonomic data, disease data, chemical data will all be here in one view. Okay. So I'm aware of time and I believe there are quite a number of questions to address. So I will look at the chat box for now. Okay. Okay, what caused a journal not to be indexed by Web of Science after a few years in the Emerging Citation Index? Okay, so if I understand your question correctly, you're saying that the journal has been indexed in Emerging Citation Index, okay, but after a few years, it was taken out. Okay, there could be multiple reasons. Remember my criteria, the 24 quality criteria. One possible reason is that maybe because we always continually reevaluate the journals. So if they don't maintain these 24 quality criteria, there is a possibility they may be taken out from Web of Science. So that could be one reason. But to answer in detail, I will need to know the journal's name. Okay. Is it possible for that journal to be re-indexed in Web of Science again? Yes, possible. So depending on the reason, if it was purely because of not fulfilling one of the quality criteria, if they improve and meet the criteria again after 2 years, okay, there's an embargo of 2 years, then they could be re-evaluated again and be indexed. Okay. For the Pablon's question, maybe we can address that offline because I will address that also in the second and the third session. Okay. If we receive any call for paper from journals, how do we know that the journal is a citation index or non-citation index one? Join us for the next session about journal citation reports, and you will be able to see whether the differences between these journals. Okay. Please show us how we can type good rule regards queries. So you're talking about building search strings. Okay. I can show you quickly how to build a basic search string. Okay, because Web of Science has some added features on the basic search that can be quite useful for new researchers when it comes to building a long search string. Okay. So under basic search, there is this option of adding another row to your search, which means to say, if you want to be specific, if I just want marine pollution topic from a particular organization, okay, you can type in the organization name here, and you can use this Boolean connectors, okay, and or not. So this could be one way for you to start practicing building your search string. Okay. Alternatively, under advanced search here, there is a mini tutorial for you to look at. Okay. So there is this learn more about advanced search as well as view tutorial. This will help you to teach you how to use these field tags or Boolean connectors more effectively. Okay, so have a look at that. Okay, there were questions about master journal lists, which I will also address in the second session. Okay. Okay, there's a final question that I will address, which is what is the difference between Web of Science and databases? Anik, if you can clarify what databases you're comparing to, we can address that offline as well. Okay, I'm going to put my email address into the chat box. okay, so that you can email me any further questions that you might have. Okay. So this is my email address, and you can email me further questions that you might have. I know we are running behind time. Okay, so any further questions I'll address offline, but do join us for the other 2 sessions that we have on Thursday, okay, which is around journal citation reports. Okay, so the second session will be using journal citation reports more, and I will explain about the master journal list as well as the differences between the different citation indexes again. Okay, I will also help you. I will also guide you through how to retrieve the Q1 to Q4 journals for your own specialization. Okay, the third session would be something quite useful for you if you want to find co-authors or collaborators for your research, okay, and how you can build a good public profile so that you can attract good collaborators. Right? So do join us for the next 2 sessions happening on Thursday. Okay? So once again, I want to thank all of you for joining me today, and I wish all of you good health, and please stay safe and do keep in touch, and I'll see you on Thursday. All right. So once again, recordings will be provided after all 3 sessions have been completed. All right. So thank you very much, everyone. See you on Thursday. Bye.